Hello everyone, my name is Selene and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about Chedlene. It's a little out of the blue. I'm mostly doing this for a Discord event that's going on, but regardless, it's about time I talk about Chedlene. For those that don't know, Chedlene is the ship name of my two characters, Selene and Cheddar. They are found here in Project H. Let's see. Where are you, Selene? I'm a little tired today, but I'm talking about them. So yes, here goes Act 4 Selene, and then where are you, Cheddar? Act 4 Cheddar. Here he is. They don't meet in Act 4. They do meet in Act 3, but Act 4 is where Chedlene really solidifies itself as a ship, as these two getting together romantically and being, all like that towards each other. But they do meet in Act 3. And both acts, even though Chedlene, like the romantic bits happen in Act 4, Act 3 is very crucial. That is where they meet. Those that did watch the character spotlight where I was talking about Cepheus and Cheddar, I did mention a bit of Cheddar's introduction there. I will briefly talk about it here just as a little introduction. Also, likewise with those that watched the Selene spotlight, I am jumping ahead. I did talk about a lot of Selene's backstory in her spotlight video. She most likely will get another spotlight video or several where I cover her in different acts. But today we are kind of just jumping ahead into Act 3 because that's where Cheddar enters the picture. That's where he appears in the story. This is about 4 years into the start of Project H. So let's see. Selene's 20 and then Cheddar would be 21 at the start of Act 3. Let me just go ahead. I'm not too sure. Let's look at Act 3. So let's see. Of course, guys can check out the archives. This is what Act 3 Cheddar would look like, or this is what he does look. This is what Act 3 Cheddar looks like. Hello, I'm a little tired today. I'm sorry. This is what he looks like here in Act 3. Let's see, and then Selene, where are you? Selene Mio, Act 3. I draw Act 3 Selene a lot. Yeah, we'll just leave it here. This is Act 3 Selene. And the other full bodies of her. There we go. And I did, again, talk about them in previous videos. So, Act 3, just a little recap on the story. This is where Selene, she begins her journey, Project H, helping Captain Melina Chiari, try to form a pirate crew and be notorious pirates. 4 years pass. Within that time, Selene has succeeded in helping Captain Chiari become like a notorious pirate captain, successful pirate crew. We have Selene being the main character, Captain Chiari. Major side character, Cepheus is also in the picture. Sir Cepheus Palace. He shows up in Act 2. I know it says Act 3 here, but he does show up in Act 2 with this little sketch of him. He looks the same. He looks the same across the entire story. He does not change. Let's see, back to Act 3, Selene. But he appears in Act 2. I did also talk about him a little bit in a previous video, the character spotlight, with Cepheus. So he's in the picture. He's in Act 2. And again, each act is about 2 years in length. Real time, like in the story time, it's 2 years, which is roughly the equivalent of a year for us. And Cepheus at this point, he's very much on being vigilant, vigilant in watching over Selene. At this point, Selene kind of just has eyes on her no matter what. She can't leave the ship without reporting to Cepheus her whereabouts, and she cannot be alone when she's off the ship. When they're sailing, of course. When they're docked at the sanctuary, she's back home, um, back under the watching care of like Horo and whatnot. So like, still like she still has to report her whereabouts. So she is kind of just undergoing this whole bout of no one really trusts her, no one really believes in her. She has to be watched all the time, make sure nothing bad happens to her, even though she's a thief and she knows how to fight and use all these weapons, and she herself is quite dangerous, but still, to make sure nothing happens to her. And she is like, she is deeply upset about it, but she can't really do anything. Captain Chiari is like, well, this is the best for, that we can do, other than like you just being constantly, having someone with you, well, it's the best situation that Captain Chiari has agreed upon between Master Horo, and Cepheus. But yeah, she's essentially a caged bird. um, and so at this time, still she's made a pretty good name for herself as a thief. She does have at this point wanted posters. Selene Mia wanted alive because she stole the very highly valuable and treasured Navrige eggs on Anvir. They're like these 4 eggs that are like masterfully crafted, jeweled and intricate. She managed to steal them. And now she has a bounty on her head. Good for her. Good for you, Selene. I think she's very proud. So that's where she is. At that point in the story, her and the crew just sail around, pillaging, causing havoc on the seas and on land, raiding cities and whatnot, kingdoms, overall pirate thievery things. Meanwhile, Cheddar. Cheddar has, at this point, let me go ahead and pull him up. Let's go over to Act 4 Cheddar. I don't even, okay. Act 4 Cheddar, no, Act 3 Cheddar, he is on his own. He is by himself. He is traveling, moving around as a hunter, a nomadic hunter, selling his meat and fur as he travels across the western, not the western, but the somewhat western side of Anvir. It's not the far west, it's like the central west. That will make sense when I make the map. But he's traveling by himself. He is for some reason, deathly afraid of being seen by the general public. He really only comes out, especially to sell his wares and do trading, on new moons. He strictly comes out during new moons, because for being a werefolk, during a new moon, that is where he looks the most human. His ears are very short, small, they hide in his hair. Likewise for his long nails, they're now short, still somewhat long, longer, a little long and short, but it's enough to pass being like, oh, okay, he just passes the most as human during a new moon. A lot of his fox features are small and can be hidden or unnoticeable. He'll wear gloves and shoes at this time and go out selling his stuff, but only during the new moon. Any other moon phase, he is deep in the forest, far away from people, wants nothing to do with interacting with anyone. He's very anxious, flighty. He doesn't want any part of combat. He's just trying to survive. and he's a little skittish. He's very skittish, not very. He's very skittish. But for those that remember me talking about him, in his video, in the other video, it's character spotlight video with Cheddar. At this point, he's not Cheddar. Cheddar is just a nickname, but at this point, he's known as Leon. That's with 2 N's at the end. So Leon is over here just trying to get by with life. Anywho, when we meet him in Act 3, or rather when Selene meets him in Act 3, she doesn't meet him outright at the start. She sees armor. Let me just backtrack real quick. She's I'm so sorry. So, okay. A little bit of context. So, Selene, at this point, in the beginning of Act 3, the pirate crew, they're taking a little break from sailing, so they're back at the sanctuary, back at home base. Selene has caught word that there's a traveling caravan, or just a caravan, a trading caravan, there we go, that's passing through, a nearby town. Nearby is kind of loose, it's still a good distance away from the sanctuary because the sanctuary itself is very hidden. Anyway, caravan passing through quite close, and Selene being bored, she's like, okay, yeah, let me go see what they have. So she goes over to the caravan, and it's all sorts of merchants selling stuff, and of course for her, the weapons and armor catch her eye. So she goes, stealing what she can, being very sneaky. And part of what she steals is a set of leg and arm armor here that we see Cheddar wearing, that we see Leon wearing, because he has his back turned as he's setting up his shop, and he's replacing his bandages as he needs to, so he has his armor off and he has it set down on the side. Selene is over here being like, oh, easy, snatches up his armor and then quickly leaves. Leon is quick noticed, and he sees his armor gone, and he's like, oh, where is that? Gosh, I've already covered this in the previous video, but I'll cover it again just to provide context. But I will do Crash Course Spark Notes version. He sees armor gone. He sees her with armor. He goes, okay, I need to get that back. He follows her back to the sanctuary. She doesn't know she's being followed. But what she does, when she does realize she's being followed, she's already home, and Leon has followed her home. So she's like, hey, you, who are you? Go away. And he's like, look, I'm just passing through. Can I have my armor back? And please, maybe don't steal stuff from merchants. We work really hard, please. She's like, no. I forget the exact exchange, but it ends up with these two fighting. And I say fighting very loosely. Selene's the one throwing out all the attacks. Cheddar's over here just trying to defend himself, not get injured or anything. And just try to tire her out so that he can negotiate with her to get his armor back. That's all he wants, is his armor back. He's like, please, please, please. He does get a few, cuts, stabs. Oh no. But she does succeed in tiring Selene out. Captain Kiari shows up. She's like, what the heck is going on here? Selene's like, he followed us. We gotta deal with him. And then, Kiari's just like, okay, who the heck are you? And then Leon is just like, look, I'm just a traveling merchant, bullies. And what essentially goes down is that Melanie is like, hey, do you know how to navigate? And Leon's just like, yes. And then Melanie is like, okay, so, because we can't risk you, going back and ratting us out, because I'm pretty sure you know that we're, criminals. We're notorious. Hi. I'm going to give you the choice. Either I shoot you dead here, or you join us as our pirate navigator for the crew navigator. And Cheddar's just like, okay, yeah, I'll live. I'll become a pirate. It's quickly found out that Leon cannot read nor write, which is a big issue. Kind of need to read and write. know how to read the maps. Even though he insists that, he's like, I'm really, I just use the stars and, the sun and whatnot, the sun and moon. And Melena's like, no, we just, here, still, we need you to read and write. Selene, you're in charge of teaching him. And Selene's like, what? Why? So Selene is very begrudgingly in charge of teaching Leon how to read and write, be literate. She's giving him a month to do so. So this is where we catch up where I stopped with the previous video. So Selene is tasked with teaching Leon how to read and write. This is where Selene gives Leon the name of Cheddar. It was kind of just like supposed to be a little jab at him for having like such orange hair, but it kind of just stuck. And Cheddar, he's like, ooh, Cheddar, I like that. Yeah, I'll take that nickname. Actually, that, and it's the fact that Selene works with Faye. Selene is quick to give him a nickname because the Fae like to steal names, and so Selene's like, I'm not going to use your real name, or I'm not going to use your only name. You don't have a last name. Or Cheddar says that he doesn't have a family, so he doesn't have a family name. So Selene's like, well, I'm going to call you Cheddar. If anyone asks, your name is Cheddar. And Cheddar's just like, okay. So about those stab wounds that Selene inflicted on him. Because he has a blood condition, hemophilia, where his blood does not clot, so now he's bleeding where Selene has stabbed him, and that blood is not stopping. He is bleeding. Not looking too well. Selene goes ahead and takes him into the home of the sanctuary. She's like, oh, she's so mad. So mad that she has to like essentially like watch over this dude and make sure that he doesn't run off and rat them out, because he can still do that. She has to keep her eye on him and then teach him how to read and all that sort of stuff. So she's in charge of him. Very unhappy about it. But she goes ahead and takes her inside the sanctuary home, the very home that she grew up in, and she's like, look, all right, let's patch you up. And Cheddar here, he starts to get really nervous because he's like, I can do it. I can handle it. And she's like, no, I have to make sure. We have to make sure that you don't do anything funny. And I'm at home. Which is very fair for her. Very fair for him. But she goes ahead and takes out some medical supplies and bandages and starts to help him replace his bandages and patch himself back up. At first, I think she's kind of just like, hey, I have Fey magic, and then Cheddar's like, I doubt that won't work on me. Magic doesn't affect werefolk, and I'm a werefox. Hello. But she's like, okay, whatever, fine, we'll just patch you up. So she helps him patch him up and whatnot, and then they start their whole routine of teaching Cheddar how to read. So Selene is like, she has a bunch of books that she's read over childhood, growing up in the sanctuary. So she starts having him read books. She's teaching him, I think, Parlian at this point, because she's teaching him Parlian, and so the basics of Parlian and whatnot, how to read it, the letters, the words, how to write it, whatnot. Day to day, it's they spend like the next 2 or so weeks quickly teaching Cheddar how to read. Selene is she's very blunt. she's been like, here, read this, let's get this over with. But again, she's very understanding. She's spending like the entire day just making sure that he understands. She herself, she's quite rude and brash, but deep down inside she does care, and we start to see that care in how she handles teaching Cheddar how to read. She's very understanding. When she finds out that with Cheddar, he explains that reading and being literate isn't really a thing for werewolf because they're kind of restricted from that. And the whole society of vampires is like, werewolf, you guys don't know, you guys don't even know how to read. Nah, well, no. It's essentially being like, oh, you're not privileged enough to, know how to be literate. So it's kind of just like restricted from werewolf. So he kind of explains to Selene, is like, yeah, it's not really a thing for werewolf to really know how to read. We don't really have access to that sort of thing. And Selene's like, oh, I see. Well, let's get to it. I gotta make sure that, you know how to do all this by the end of the month. And she does mean it genuinely. So she's very serious about it. And as within these first few days, first couple of weeks, during downtime between the two, they start to learn more about each other. Just gosh, I don't even know where to start. I don't even know where to start. I don't know how long this video is gonna be. I'm kind of like, I feel the need to rush through it, but at the same time, if I rush through it, I'm not going to capture what Chedlene really means to me, because it means so much, and this is just a lot. I don't know, yeah. I don't know. Gosh, this is only the beginning. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm just gonna breathe for a moment and think and just talk about Chedlene. Just talk about Chedlene because they mean so much. Yeah. And I wish I had things already written about them. I do, I have notes. I think I gotta go through, which I will. Because I don't like how I'm just like speeding through this. There's so much depth to them. But I'm just gonna treat it like, teaching someone, the basics, the surface level Chedlene stuff. There you go. So yeah, they spend the first couple of weeks teaching Cheddar how to read. The first few days are really rough, incredibly rough. Because as we see here, Cheddar has this sort of cap on his head, this little leather cap. Prior to meeting Selene, it didn't have the holes for his ears. So his ears would be quite literally shoved into that cap to help hide the fact that he does have fox ears, to hide the fact that he is a werefox. Werefolk, yeah. So the first few days, it's quite rough because Cheddar cannot quite hear Selene. He knows how to read lips, but he has a hard time really understanding Selene and her lessons. So this entire time, these first few days, he's like looking at her, reading her lips, but still not quite understanding the things that she's trying to teach him. And she kind of gets fed up about him not being able to properly hear her. And I'm pretty sure she might have already seen, she most likely has seen him tuck his ears under his cap during these first few days, and she's like, what the heck? Sorry. She's like, what? Why are you doing that? Why you can't hear me? Cheddar at first says like, hey, I just won't. He explains that he does prefer to hide his ears to make sure that people don't really see them. And firstly, she's like, well, I'm the only one here. I don't care if you're a werewolf. It doesn't matter. When she says it doesn't matter, it's from a place where she is not judging him, because it becomes quite clear that he's very self-conscious about being a werefolk, being born a werefox and whatnot. He says he sees it in a very negative light for himself. And so because of that, he tries to hide all these features about himself whenever he's around people, especially when he's around non-werewolf. So for Selene, when she says she doesn't care, she's saying that in a place where she's not judging him. She doesn't see him in a negative light because he is a werefox. She's like, to her, he's just any other person. So she gets fed up every time he can't understand her, can't understand what she's saying, and she's like, look, we have a month, and I'm not trying to waste any time on BS. So she takes his cap and cuts 2 holes big enough so that his ears poke out. And then she hands him the cap back, and she's like, here, just wear it now. And Cheddar's over here just like, okay. He puts it back on, ears free, and now he can actually hear. Goodness gravy. So we got that going on. She's like, finally, okay, you can understand me. Let's get the show. Like, let's get these lessons going. So that starts to happen, and she starts teaching him properly, how to read and write, and he catches on very well. And he's making great progress. He catches on really, really fast, which is great because she's like, okay, cool. Good for both of them. They're not wasting any time. He's taking it very seriously. She's taking it very seriously. And during the times where she's not teaching him how to read and write, she still has to keep an eye on him, which she's a little annoyed about, but she at the same time is like, we have to make sure that he doesn't, leave and rat us out. So, she has him stay in one of the guest rooms in the house. During downtime, they start to learn a bit more about each other. Cheddar learns about Selene's little cooking curse. Selene cannot prepare food or any sort of meal for her. She can't prepare any food without something going disastrous, terribly wrong, ends in disaster. If she tries, something terribly goes wrong, like like a fire explosion. This has been the case with her since she was young. She accidentally stepped into a Fae circle, and the Fae cursed her, being like, "You cannot cook ever. Bye." It seems like a very silly curse, but it's very detrimental. It's like she cannot prepare any food, no food for herself, or for others. She just can't prepare food. Cheddar is quick to learn about this. Being like, you haven't really eaten much. Do you need help cooking? And Selene's like, don't ask. What do you know how to cook? And Cheddar's like, yeah, I'm a hunter. I live out in the woods. Like, I can cook for you. Yeah. So he starts making her meals and whatnot during his time in the sanctuary. That's one thing. Like, he quickly learns about her, and they just start to learn more and more about each other. Cheddar also learns that Selene likes being told stories at night, and he starts to recite stories to her. And he teaches her about the stars and constellations. Meanwhile, Selene starts to teach him about her whole interest in weapons and whatnot. And days sort of go by, and it is approaching the half moon, and this guy Cheddar just up and disappears. And Selene's over here like, wait, where did he go? Where's this man? He's gone. So she's over here being like, he left to rat us out. Oh, he left to rat us out. So Sorry, I'm looking at the timer. I was like, it's only been 30 minutes, and I barely even started about Chedlene. This is gonna be like a multi-parter. I'm so sorry. He's going to rat us out. He's going to rat us out. So Selene's like, all right, fine. She grabs her knives and whatnot, and she like she frantically leaves to see where the heck this man could have went. And so she runs into the forest nearby the sanctuary that surrounds the sanctuary, and it doesn't take her long. She literally kind of just runs into the forest a few paces, and then bam, he's there. He's in the tree. He's taller. He's taller. His tail is longer. His ears are bigger. His claws are his nails. His sharp nails are showing. It's like the first time. He's kind of like seen without gloves or whatnot, because he's really insistent on wearing gloves, but at this point he's not. So like Selene sees how sharp his nails are, and the gloves most definitely got in the way and pin in him trying to like write and whatnot. But it's evident that his werefox features are showing more and more, being bigger and whatnot, and this man is just in a tree, almost far. He's trying to hide, but Selene like quickly notices him, and she's like, "Dude, what are you doing? Get back into the house. You made me think that you were gonna like rat us out to the authorities." And Cheddar's just like, "No, I'm sorry." He's apologizing profusely to her, and he's like, "I'm so sorry. It's that I didn't want you to see me like this. I know you're supposed to be watching me, but I tried my best to stick around. I don't." And he kind of just goes on saying like, "Hey, it's the half moon, and the full moon will be here soon, and me being a werefox, I'm just gonna keep growing and and get all what the hell tall is he during the full moon? 7 feet. 7. I think he's 7. I think he gets to be almost 8 feet. Hold on. 7'7"? He gets real tall. But he's over here just being like, "Look, I'm so sorry. It's around this time. I just need to be away from people. I don't want to frighten anyone. It's..." And Selene's just like, "What? You don't frighten me. This doesn't bother me. What the heck are you talking about? Come back into the house. It's gonna get cold. I need to keep an eye on you." And Cheddar's just like, I'm so sorry. Like he's insisting that he has to be away and hidden from people. And Selene's like, "Look, if that's that's the case, like we could just keep you hidden in one of the rooms. No one will see you. I don't care. I just want to make sure that you're not running off." And where Cheddar is typically very he will like, this is kind of just like a moment, one of the first few months where we see Cheddar is very stern. He's like, "No, I will stay here. I apologize, but I cannot bring he's very, it's very hard to explain, but he's very insistent on staying where he is. And Selene's like, "All right, fine, stay here." So she pulls out some books and whatnot. She gets some books, continues on her reading lessons, until eventually nighttime happens, and Cheddar's over here being like, "Oh, he in his mind thinks that she hates him for being a werefox, and especially now more so that his features are showing more. And he's like definitely afraid that either that she's afraid of him, she hates him, or she might hurt him. That's like the biggest thing, is like biggest thing with her, like how he feels. Meanwhile, Selene is she's like, I'm just here, so in order to keep an eye on him, and like she's indifferent. When I well she doesn't again she doesn't see him being a werefox in any sort of negative light. She's just like, dude, calm down, please, please. We got a job to get done. But nighttime comes around and she gets a little tired. And then she kind of just falls asleep there under the tree that he's in. And to Cheddar, he's the fact that she's falling asleep, like near him, he's kind of just like, oh, she's comfortable enough to be asleep near me when I'm like this. So the next day comes around. Cheddar, I'm not sure if I'm gonna have if Cheddar falls asleep or if he stays awake the entire time because he's just so scared. He's like is extremely paranoid. But either way, the next day comes around, and Cheddar, he's like, "Hi, yeah, is it okay if I stay in one of your rooms, until the full moon passes and the crescent moon returns?" And Selene's like, "What? Yeah, why are you asking? I offered it. Yeah, let's go." She's over here. She's like, "Yeah, the ground is way too hard for me to sleep here again. I'm glad. Let's go." So Selene sets him up with a nice secluded room. In the sanctuary, his own, his room, back in his room. And she's like, "Whatever you need, let me know. You don't have to leave this room." And for Cheddar, he does not like being in confined spaces, but he's willing to be in this room, to stay in this room, to help Selene out. And it's like, especially if it helps like keep others from seeing him. So he's like, okay, I'll stay here. And Selene's like, whatever you need, let me know. Either way, let's get back to our lessons. And yeah, so they kind of continue. The full moon approaches, and Cheddar is full on 7 foot whatever, very tall biped werefox. Bam! This is what he looks like. This is technically not canon because this is Act 3, but this is like the best example of what I have what Cheddar looks like during the full moon right here. Full moon happens. And this man is very nervous. Just in general, it's very nervous. He's very nervous and scared. He tries to continue on with the lessons with Selene, but he's over here being like, oh, she really must hate me now. And he doesn't really explain this outright, but he's fully convinced that, like, surely Selene fears me, is disgusted by me. She's not. She's over here being like, she's trying to continue, the lessons, and then finally, she's like, hey, do you want to take this day for yourself? And Cheddar's just like, yes, please. Because, like, it's clear to her that he is very uncomfortable on this day during the full moon. And she's like, all right, I'm going to go ahead and give you space. If you need anything, let me know. I'll be here. And he's like, okay. Also at this point, like, he's over here, like, whenever he walks, he's like making scratches on the floor and whatnot. He's apologizing profusely to her and whatnot. And he's like, I don't care. We can replace them. It's whatever. But so she essentially gives him the day by himself and lets him be. Of course, if he needs anything, she'll accommodate, but it's very clear like he just needs some space, and Selene's like, okay, sure. She's fine with that, very understanding with that. And then comes the point where it's nighttime on this full moon day, and Selene, she's going, she's gone about her day. She's in bed now, sleeping, and then she hears this wailing, this crying, like shrieks of pure terror, like the kind that will make like your blood like twist and whatnot, your heart drop. And so she's over here being like, "What the heck is going on?" So she quickly gets up and like she runs out, and it's coming from Cheddar's room, and she opens up the door, and she sees him. And he's kind of like in this half awake, half sleeping state. He is crying, he is screaming, just in pure terror. It is just him. Um, and he's like kind of just clenching onto his forearms. You see where those bandages are? He's like clenching to himself, and his own nails are digging into his skin. There's a pool of blood gathered beneath him, and his cuts are just bleeding. But he's in this state of pure shock and terror. And it's clear to Selene that he is reliving some sort of awful experience. And so she calls out to him, but instead of saying Cheddar, she calls out to him saying Leon. This is the first time that we see Selene use his real name. And there's a moment in which, like, she's keeping her distance, but in Cheddar, he's kind of just, like, thrashing around, as if trying to, like, fight something off. But the moment that Selene calls out to him, he kind of just, like, he hesitates for a moment, and he comes to his senses. He's awake now, still crying, heart racing and everything, still full of panic. But he sees Selene, and he's like, oh my god, I'm so, like, he starts to apologize. He's like, did I hurt you? Did I do anything? And Selene's like, no, I'm fine. Even if you did hurt me, it wouldn't be your fault. Here, I'll be right back. So she quickly leaves, and then returns with bandages and towels and whatnot. Throws the towels on the ground to help clean up, soak up the blood. And while that's happening, she's over here being like, may I help you? Can I help you with, your wounds? And he nods. He sits himself down, trying to calm himself down, and he just allows her to clean his wounds and bandage him back up. And she doesn't ask any questions. She doesn't ask like, hey, what was all of that? She's just focused on making sure that he's okay at this point, that his wounds are dressed, and everything's cleaned up. And she asks, well, once everything is all said and done, she gathers up everything to go and, put it back. And Cheddar, he very, very gently reaches out to her and catches, like, just the fabric of her clothes. And he's, when he does do this, a bit of his nails do pierce into his, like, the fabric of her clothes, and it does. Part of it, like, he's seeing that pierces his heart just a little bit, but he's very shakily. He's like, "Can you please stay here with me, for the night?" And Austin's like, "Yeah, I can. Let me just go put this away." And he's like, "Please, just stay." And Selene, she catches on. She's like, "Okay." So she leaves the stuff there. He insists like he'll put it up himself. And Selene sits down in the middle of the room, Cheddar places himself like back against the wall, curled up. um, he is a lot more calm now. He's okay. Um, but and so Selene sits herself down, or lays herself down on the floor. She herself, how this is framed in my mind, is that Cheddar, where he's laying, he is like in full, he's shrouded in the shadow of the room, and Selene, she's sitting in the moonlight through the window at the center of the room. So they're kind of just looking at each other. Nothing is said. Um, just this silence, this very gentle silence between the two of them as they gaze at each other, and eventually they both fall asleep. Um, so that's what I'll leave this first Chedlene little rant here. I wish I could talk about Act 4 Chedlene, where all the relationship stuff is there, but I feel like it's best that you know those that are listening, which thank you. You know the full picture where everything starts, how you know the journey to the destination. But yeah, I'll leave it at that. If you guys have any questions, because I love Chedlene, and if you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask. I'll happily answer them, and I'll see you guys next time, next part of this ramble. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day.